Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is a very short or just not very put together video just because I wanted to get my thoughts out before I have the time to actually get out some more other videos that I just want to put out. So today I'm going to be talking about why I think Gen Z has kind of turned politics into a trend, which you probably have already noticed that, but I think it's definitely more important to just talk about it. And so let's just get into it. I'm not going to edit this a lot. So I was watching some YouTube today, and I was actually watching a Supreme Court podcast that I love called Strict Scrutiny. I've always listened to them on my phone, and then I realized they probably have a YouTube channel, which they do. So then I finished their latest live episode on YouTube because I was like, I want to see their faces. I've never seen their faces before. And so that was kind of cool. But then I just kept like going on the YouTube homepage, on the TV, and then I saw The Daily Show, which I'm not subscribed to The Daily Show's YouTube channel, but I do watch them pretty regularly through YouTube because they're like always recommended. So I saw this video from, as of recording, like 13 or 14 days ago, where Jordan Klepper kind of tries to find out why Gen Z and just young people, but you know, Gen Z and young people, kind of the same thing, why we are MAGA. And I'm not MAGA. I would consider myself leftist, and I think I'm a registered Democrat, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. I'm just not MAGA. I'm not Republican, but that's all the point of this video. The point of this video is that politics is now a trend for my generation. Now, I didn't finish The Daily Show's video, so maybe they come to the same conclusion, and I'm just like talking about something that they already addressed. But I just like stopped halfway through because I was like, my mind needs a break from this, because it's just like, we should not let politics become a trend. And it has been a trend. Like leftism has been a trend before, and then now, you know, being on the right, that's now a trend. It's dangerous for either side to become a trend, but I kind of want to explain this. So I think for a lot of people, it's hard to understand this because for the last few decades, like, being on the left has been like what we expect for young people to do, like opposing war, which like pretty like on the left, what I would consider and what some other people would consider opposing war of all kinds on the left, welfare on the left, that sort of stuff, taxing the rich on the left. So for the last few decades, we've kind of expected that. So we've kind of considered leftism being like young people's rebellious phase, where like their parents are probably like maybe liberal or conservative, whatever, just not on the left. So then young people are on the left, and then older generations have always considered that kind of like a rebellious phase. Then as they grow up, they'll become conservative. Has that been backed up by data? Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. I don't know. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that we've kind of expected that for young people. So for these new young people that are being open about being conservative and being like traditional family values, for them, that is the new rebellion, because they've been told by our cultural expectations that young people tend to be on the left, or like, you know, being on the left and being a Democrat, they're very two different things, but like people kind of put them together. So young people have kind of noticed that and been like, well, in order for me to have my actual rebellion that I want as a young person, that we're kind of like naturally inclined to have, I need to be on the right, because culture has been telling me that young people should be on the left, because that's just like how the ages tend to be. So I think it's kind of like a rebellious thing, because when you listen to young people on the right talk about their beliefs, it's just memorized from the people that they listen to, and not any like anything that they've put together themselves. There's this one guy, he was wearing a red shirt and a cross necklace, and you know, I'm just describing him. He had a red hat because MAGA, and then he also had kind of like a beard, and he basically admitted to Jordan Klepper in this Daily Show segment how he kind of just memorizes what Charlie Kirk says because he himself doesn't know what to say to back up his beliefs. And so there's a difference between listening to what someone says and saying, and thinking about it critically and saying, yeah, I agree with that. That's one thing. But just listening to what someone says and then having to memorize it because you can't think for yourself, that is what propaganda is for. Propaganda doesn't want you to think critically. They just want you to accept it for what it is. So it's very important that we think critically and not just like assume that whatever we're listening to is a good faith argument and is actually backed up by data. Because I've seen stuff that, like, if I wasn't thinking critically, I'd be like, yeah, well, that seems like it would be true, so I'm just going to believe it. But instead, I look it up and I'm like, oh, that's actually not something that's real. There's misinformation on both sides. And so just because you think your side is better, that doesn't mean that there isn't misinformation targeting you. So there is this kind of like meme format where it was like a supposed, it was not a real quote from Trump, but it was like a fake quote that was attributed to him that was like, if I were to ever run for president, I would run as a Republican because they're stupid, blah, 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 blah. That's not the exact quote. I'm just paraphrasing. But because me, who tries to think critically about most, if not everything, that I can think of, I was like, no way he said that. That's really weird. And like, I'm not a Donald Trump apologist, but I don't want to believe something that's fake. So I looked it up, and People magazine was like, he never said that in an interview. And so if you're just looking at what's online without doing your own research, then that's not, first of all, it's not a smart thing. It's not an intellectually smart thing to do. And it's also scary if you think that you're on the moral high ground, but your morality is based off of things that aren't true. And so someone else in the Daily Show's video was kind of like, yeah, I just feel like MAGA and conservatism is like the thing now. The thing. As in the trend. It's dangerous to turn politics into trends because even though people say that like many things are political, like people in fashion will say that fashion is political. And while there is definitely some truth to that, on a day-to-day basis, like okay, I'm wearing a Fire Aid shirt, but let's just say I was wearing a regular black shirt. There's almost nothing political about that one decision. But that is different about who you vote for because Donald Trump won both the Electoral College and the popular vote this election back in November of 2024. So if our trends are politics instead of just like shoes or like a makeup look, that is dangerous. When the trend is supporting someone with 34 felonies, when the trend is supporting a president whose conservative Supreme Court gave him presidential immunity, that is a dangerous trend. And I'm not here to say that, like, you know, again, leftism wasn't a trend ever, because it definitely was. Like, I wasn't online myself in 2020. Like, I didn't have TikTok, I didn't have Instagram, but I've done my research of that time since then. And for the trend then, it was definitely like posting a black square for BLM and being like an ally to Black Lives Matter and an ally to Antifa and being just like an anti-fascist in general. And so to those people who saw BLM and Antifa as a trend, to them there's no difference between them now being a conservative, except now some of these people are old enough to vote and they're old enough to use what they see as a trend to change the world. Because, listen, for better or for worse, the United States is like a very influential country and a very powerful country. And as someone living here, I honestly don't like it. I like living here, but I don't like that our country is one of the most, if not the most powerful in the world because we do not have our shit together. We should not have this much responsibility. And more so, this man should not have this much responsibility. And I blame the Supreme Court for giving him presidential immunity because we vote for a president, not a king. When politics are a trend, it's dangerous because you don't believe, or like you don't know what you believe. You're just repeating the talking points. Like when we talk about regular trends, like a shirt or a bag, there's talking points that go with it. There's reasons why you buy it. Like I bought Nike Blazers, the high top ones. And for me, it was kind of just like, oh, everyone else has them. But when we think about having a democracy and having like a bandwagon logic of, oh, everyone else is doing this, I should do it too. That just does not work the way it should. Just because everyone else does it does not mean it's the good thing. Just because your whole friend group is MAGA does not mean it's a good thing. The point is, think for yourself, please. And look, if you do your own research and you somehow still find that like conservatism is right for you, then great. I'll disagree with you, but at least you did your own research. But if you're just listening to whoever gets the most followers on TikTok, whoever gets the most likes, and whoever's the prettiest, you're stupid, you're not thinking critically, you're wasting your vote by not being educated. And it's also important to acknowledge that if my logic for voting the way I do is because I don't want my civil rights taken away, but someone else's logic is all their friends are this way, so they're going to be that way too, that logic, my logic, isn't going to work for them. I'm not saying that every single Gen Z MAGA voter did it because it's a trend. There are people who genuinely believe what Trump spews from his dirty mouth, but I am saying there's definitely a significant chunk, if not majority, of conservative young voters that voted that way because it's a trend. And look, the Democratic Party tried to do it. They tried to do it with Brat Summer, Coconut Girl Summer, and it didn't work because Trump has been playing the long game ever since his insurrection failed in 2021. He's been campaigning for the 2024 election. So, we need to stop turning politics into a trend. We need to work on the data, and we also need to find a way to combat AI making up data, like in RFK Jr.'s MAHA report. That is it for my rant. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you didn't. Go hate on me in the comments if you want. Go love on me in the comments if you want. I don't care. I'm just going to put this video out. Hope you all have a good day, and see you guys in my next video.